Hello, hello, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Rick Schnabel, and today I hope to give you a sense of what NLP is all about and do a bit of a deep dive so you get a sense and understand how our brain actually works. And I'm going to give you some insights as to how you can actually shift your life forward. The first thing that I want to say is that this is a background, of course. I'm not actually live on a beach. You can see that by the flickering of the top of my shirt. But this is where I now live. And it was something that back in 2012, I decided to reinvent and recreate our life and decided to go for a bit of a beach environment rather than living in a city. And today I want to give you a sense of how we actually do that. But before we go there, if you like, would anyone like to kind of share where they're located at the moment? So feel free to jump in the chat and just put your name or just put, wherever you're living at the moment, just so we can get a bit of a sense as to where everyone is at the moment. I'm pretty sure the team have set the chat function. Okay, we've got Canberra, which is fantastic. So Canberra actually is only 2 hours away from us, or actually, sorry, 3 hours away from us. And we've got Lake Macquarie, New South Wales. Okay, so you're way up north up there. I hope that you've kept dry given, the incredible rains that we've been experiencing. And so just to give you a bit of a sense as to what we're going to be covering, closer to Newcastle. Okay, gotcha. And Wollongong, fantastic. So we've got quite a bit of sort of New South Wales, and we've got some ACT as well. So today I decided to put together a whole host of information so that you can get a deeper understanding of what NLP is. I'm going to talk very honestly about what my life was like before it, just so you can get a sense of the contrast. And Outwell, Perth, fantastic. I lived in Perth for 9 years, and I had an advertising agency over there in Perth. It's a beautiful, beautiful place in the world. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend, when borders are open and all of that, to check out Perth. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. So just to give you a sense of me before we begin this particular webinar, as I was saying earlier, back in 2012, I decided to use neuro-linguistic programming to completely transform my life. One thing that I found is that learning neuro-linguistic programming created an enormous amount of opportunities in my life where prior I thought there were none. And one thing that I started to discover, in learning how our mind is and how we think, and I want to give you a great insight into our mental capacity going through the processes of NLP. So I want to give you a bit of a deep dive into that particular space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. So today, the webinar training is essentially what is NLP and how can it actually help you to grow? And that's the theme for today. So it's true, there's a new and different way for you to grow and certainly boost your confidence enormously. And I want to share some insights into that. It's called neuro-linguistic programming, or otherwise framed as NLP for short. And we do NLP a little bit differently than most. And as you'll see, it's easy to actually feel better when you know how, and you get super fast relief and success. And that's very much NLP's focus. And what you'll also come to understand is the best part of it all, you don't need a degree to understand it, and it costs a lot less than you think to actually master it. A lot of people do think that you need to be very, very clever to learn NLP, but in truth, the opposite is the case. NLP takes a very complex concept that is the brain and all of its neurology, and starts to simplify it. And I hope to really share that with you today so you can begin to understand it. And you can completely improve how you see yourself, regardless of what craziness and chaos is happening around you. Now, one thing that we have to understand is that our lives, the world, is constantly in a movement, constantly in change. And what we've got to do is, in order to be able to cope when the world keeps changing, is we have to either change with it or not change at all. And that's called resistance. And when we get resistance in our lives, that is typically what creates stress. It creates frustration, anxiety, depression, and all of these sorts of things that many people resort often to medication for. But I typically focused on learning NLP to help people to get beyond those blocks without the use of medication and things like that. So if you want to grow in any area of your life and boost your confidence enormously, you want to pay close attention to what I'm about to share with you today. So this was Thoreau, and he said, if one advances confidently in the direction of their dreams and endeavors to live the life which they have imagined, they will meet with the success unexpected in common hours. Now, that was, of course, Thoreau's quote. Now, what I want to share with you today is that's a very long sentence, but what I want to give to you is I want to give you some insights as to how this turns into reality, because there's a couple of pieces in here that I want to explain in a little bit more detail. So what Thoreau said is that if one advances confidently, and the real key word here is confidently, and when you choose, and it is a decision quite often to choose to be confident, even if you're not completely confident, what happens is you start to have, the world, people, events, the universe, call it what you will, all of a sudden conspires for your success. And if you're not confident, it comes out in your language, it comes out in your behaviors, it comes out in your actions, and in some cases, it stops people completely from moving forward. Now, the other key piece is the word imagined. One thing that I've discovered over the years is that what you see in your mind actually creates an opportunity for you to create it in your reality, but you need to get it in your imagination first, typically. Because if it's not present in your life, you need to then build your imagination. And there are some fundamental things that I've learned in NLP as to how you can actually visualize something and make it real. Let me give you one very quick distinction. If you close your eyes or if you imagine a new life, and what you do is you see yourself in that picture that you get in your head, it's not as potent as if you see that life through your own eyes. In other words, you can't see yourself in the picture, but you can actually see the new life as if you're living it. So in NLP, we call that a disassociated when we see ourselves in the picture and associated when we're looking through our own eyes. So if you want to really create a new life, it is best to perhaps start with a disassociated image, in other words, seeing yourself in the picture, and then get it to a point that you can actually see it like you're living it. Now, this starts to explain a lot of the philosophies and insights and understandings in like the law of attraction and so forth, that starts to get you to understand how these things actually work. So I felt to kind of start from this particular perspective, but the question that most people really want to know is, what is NLP? So let me go from the scientific perspective or the languaging around that, and then I'm going to go deeper. So technically, NLP uses the language of the mind to consistently achieve specific and desired outcomes. So what do I mean by the language of the mind? The language of the mind is two parts. There's the vocal, verbal, external language that we actually use to describe our experiences. Now, what is going on in our brain is as we're speaking, our neurology is firing off to match what we're speaking. And so what we can begin to do is we can start to either strengthen ourselves, create more energy in our bodies, or take the strength away and drop our energy. For example, and I won't do this, and please don't do this, this is just an example. If you keep saying in your head, I feel anxious, I feel anxious, I feel anxious, or you just simply feel anxious, you're going to have language of the mind that's going to relate to anxiety. And as a result, what you focus on tends to expand in your life. In other words, if instead you focus on calm, even though you may be feeling anxious, what you can begin to do, it doesn't necessarily say that anxiety is going to completely diminish, but it will begin to drop. So that's one insight in the context of NLP. It's kind of like the big picture first. So let me drill down in a bit of detail. So one thing that I recall seeing at one particular point from a Psychology Today magazine, they actually said that NLP is the most powerful vehicle for personal change in existence. Now, I went searching to try to change my life, looking at lots of different modalities, lots of different ways to actually change. And it was when I learned NLP that I started to get a language that helped me to be able to recraft my life. And the way that I did that, I hope to explain today in a lot more detail. So the question is, what can NLP really bring into your life? Well, confidence is one thing that it can definitely do. But in order to be confident, what you need to do is you need to usually have strategies and sometimes go through a process to get rid of all those decisions you made about yourself, to get rid of some of the patterns, some of the programs that you have built in your own mind in the context of confidence. It can also leapfrog your career. It certainly did both of those things for me, because my career was stalled because of my self-esteem. And NLP helped me to build my self-esteem. A lot of people, by the way, do not believe this, but I used to be incredibly shy. If you get into personalities, I am by Myers-Briggs, I am an INTJ. Now, the I stands for introvert, and I am technically an introvert, but it doesn't mean that you can't be extroverted when you really know a lot about a topic and a subject. So because I became so impassioned about what happened in my life, and I wanted to teach as many people as I could to start creating better results in their life, that brought out my E, or my extrovert. So I can talk till the cows come home about this, because I have almost invested 20 years in learning this. So the other area is business. And over the years, I have helped my own business using NLP, and I've also helped many other people grow their business. Because quite often in business, and I'm going to go into this model a little bit deeper, but in a simplification, in business, typically, if we want to grow it or we want to take it to the next level, the first thing that we have to understand is we have to create a strategy for that. You know, in other words, are we trying to grow profits? Are we trying to expand our team? Are we aiming to go international? Are we broadening our market or niching our market? Now, they may be strategies, but there are then functions that we have to do in order to get there. And quite often what happens is that a lot of us just don't have the mindset to do the work because we're not confident, or we feel anxious, or we find it difficult to meet with strangers, for example. So in business, you can definitely grow your business, but quite often it's the mindset that needs to shift. Now, the other thing that NLP can improve in your life is communication. Now, there are some very specific models that you learn in NLP, such as the format system, to be able to communicate in a succinct way. And the format system is essentially you start with a why first, you then talk about what, you then move to how you achieve the what, and then what if you did. And that's called the format system. But there are so many different tools in improving your level of communication. I so wish I'd had this so much earlier in my career. It would have made a huge, huge difference. But anyway, that's history. But the area that I love working in mostly is helping people to heal the past, begin to change how they see themselves, because much of our past determines how we actually see our future and, of course, our present. So NLP has a lot of tools in helping people to change how they think about themselves. And of course, relationships is another area. And I've just kind of chosen a few chunked up areas that NLP really focuses in. And there are a lot of tools to help and improve relationships. So if anyone's ever having challenges in their relationships, it's usually how you're seeing the other person or how you're seeing yourself, or it's a mix of values. But let me give you some deeper insights. So there's much, much more, but this is essentially some areas that NLP can actually bring and enhance in your life. So to really summarize it, it's really about finding what your blocks are, what's stopping you from creating the life that you want, and then using the NLP tools to actually remove them so that at the end of the day, you can literally grow. So it is true, from little seeds, big things can come, but you've got to plant the right seeds in the right environment. So I wanted to give you an example. This was one of our students, and he said, I was on the same income for a decade. And he said, NLP helped me to find my limits and remove them. I increased my income by over $100,000. Finally, I was flying high, living the life I once dreamed of. Now, what Jürgen did is he really mastered his mindset, but he mastered his mindset by discovering what was his belief systems, how did he think of himself, and he valued himself at a particular point. Our job through the training was to start to expand and take the roof off his limitation. Now, that made a big difference in his life. So his income went from, and I can't recall this specific figure, but it was kind of like he was earning at the time around 90,000 or 100,000, I can't recall. But his income just almost doubled, if not more, by knowing how to take the limit off his thinking. A real key to that is your value. So how does NLP change you? The truth is it doesn't. It doesn't change you. You learn how to change by using the NLP tools. And so there is a very important component in here. And that is that you bring your desires to the training. You go, this is the person that I really want to be. These are the blocks that I want to get rid of. These are the limitations that I want to change. And then you are taught how to identify the blocks, how to imagine and create an ideal future, and then how to build a strategy to get there, and then learn the tools to remove any beliefs that stand in your way, any concepts that you have in your mind, and allow those things to actually disappear and shift, and then form into an ideal future. So I wanted to give this to you in a bit of a snapshot so you start to understand this. So NLP helps you to identify what you must think, do, and become to achieve your outcomes. So usually when you're working with people, you're helping them to work out the answers to this. You know, what do you need to think? What do you need to do? And who do you need to become to be able to achieve what you really ideally want? And that's where, personally for me, that's where I find the most enjoyment as a coach, for example, helping people to do that. So change, one way to see this is it's a 4-part process. So the first thing that you've got to have is you've got to have a desire in your heart to really want to create the outcome. So if you haven't got a desire, then the first part of the process is to start to build that desire or find that desire and then link that to ideally what you want to become. Now, I've got a saying that I say quite a lot, and that is that reasons get results. If you have a good reason, you'll get a great result. But you've got to build a good reason, because consciously and unconsciously, you want to align your thinking to create your outcomes. So that's really about mindset. So then the next piece is to build your mindset to really match those desires. So whatever you need to believe, whatever you need to have as a program, whatever you need to do, you need to be able to make that a reality. So the next thing that we often have is we have resources. In other words, once you've got the desire and you've got the right mindset, then you'll go looking for resources to be able to get over that block, get over that wall. And of course, the thing that we often have to address are the blocks themselves. You know, what are the things that are literally stopping you from moving forward or achieving your goal? The clearer we can be here, the more success we will gain in our lives. So I want to show you a photo. This was a photo of me and a gentleman by the name of Chris Howard, or Christopher Howard, and he was one of my NLP trainers. And this was a photo when I graduated to actually become an NLP trainer. But the question is, why do I look like I'm about to cry when all of a sudden all this opportunity is in front of me? So I want to be brutally frank with you, and I want to be completely honest with you to say this is what was going on in my life at the time. So I had just graduated in NLP. I was recently married. These were all great things. I was also about to be a dad. Again, another highlight in my life. But the problem was I was actually about to lose my job. And, you know, for any of us, we know how challenging that can be if you're about to lose your job and you're about to lose your income. What I didn't know at this particular time, I was about to go down to my last $27. And I kid you not, that's the amount that I had in my bank account, $27. That was it. So it was a very scary time for me. So the way that I was thinking at this particular time was I was about to lose everything. So I was going to put these NLP tools completely to good use. So if we look at this, this is the reason that I had all those problems. So I'm going to use the same model of mindset, desire, resources, and blocks. So my lack of success came from 3 things. The first thing was a lack of self-belief. Even though I had learned all these NLP tools, my belief in myself was growing, but I still needed to go further. I still needed to practice these tools in my life to build my mindset so that I could achieve what I wanted to achieve. The next thing was I also had a belief about salespeople. And that belief, forgive me if you're in sales, and please understand that my beliefs are no longer this. But I believed that salespeople were sleazy. They would sell their grandmother in order to, you know, achieve their own ends. And that was my belief. The problem was I was in a sales job. So if you think that if that is your belief, what happens if you're super successful, then you're super sleazy. You'd sell anyone's grandmother. I know that might sound crazy, but sometimes our beliefs are literally that. They're crazy. They're nuts. So this was essentially my biggest block. So my beliefs are about salespeople because it was self-sabotaging my success. So the other thing that I had at the time was poor communication skills. Sure, I could utter a sentence, I could speak, but my communication skills were lackluster. I didn't understand, there's something that you learn in NLP, that there are 4 types of English. There's visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and auditory digital English, and they're very different. And I was speaking quite visually, but to all of my clients who were auditory digital, for example, or kinesthetic or auditory, which is different to speaking visually. And so as a result, I was not getting results. So basically, I had to improve my resources. So to cut a very long story short, what it did for me is it gave me confidence and I found my mojo. And I was no longer depressed, anxious, or blameful. I used to be incredibly blameful. If things didn't work for me, the first thing I would do is negate that by pointing at someone else or pointing at a situation and blaming that situation for my lack of success. So what I then did is I then started utilizing NLP. Before I started coaching, I was using it in my sales. As a result, I went from being the worst salesperson in the history of this company to becoming the best in 3 months, just using NLP tools, which completely changed my world. So, these days I enjoy a greater income and a lifestyle than ever before. I'm living in a beautiful place. I work typically 3 days a week, and I'm making a lot more money than I ever used to make in my job. So I live near the beach on the Sapphire Coast of New South Wales, not far away from many people that are here on this webinar today. And what NLP literally did is it helped me to create opportunities from thin air where once there were none. So that's a real key piece. There are opportunities all around you. I promise there are. But the thing is that when we have certain beliefs and we have limitations, quite often what we're doing is we're blocking those opportunities. In other words, turning them invisible. They don't exist. So NLP opens up your thinking so that you can start seeing opportunities that actually were there all along. You just perhaps weren't seeing them. So basically, what I did in 2002, I studied coaching, NLP. I studied it in 2004 and completely graduated in 1 year. And I also learned EFT, metaphysics, and a whole host of other things. I then incorporated Life Beyond Limits in 2004 because I got out of my job and I wanted to just do this full time because I was so impassioned about helping people. And I was already now helping lots of other people to create a life beyond limits, essentially. And I've taught coaches and I've taught NLP since 2006. I've done 37,000 hours of transformational work. And I've written 6 best-selling books. So A Richer Way to Think is my last book. And so what happened essentially is NLP all of a sudden created all of these opportunities for me. I would have never written a book, before I studied NLP. In fact, I was very scared to write a book in the first instance. But once you get your confidence going, then you can be the person that you really, truly want to be in the world. So this is a lady, and I felt that this was a really good quote that I got from Marilyn Martin is her name. She's a lovely, lovely lady. I'm actually coaching her. And she said, I believed no one would listen to me, but I was wrong. I built my first online course, and in just a few weeks, 1,902 people enrolled. I was gobsmacked that a grandmother could succeed online. And that last little piece, that last sentence, tells you what her beliefs were. She didn't believe that a grandmother could succeed online. And I simply taught her how to do that and helped her to shift her belief system around that. And of course, she got the results. Now she's got thousands and thousands and thousands of people in her course. She's a lovely, lovely person. So she changed her beliefs. And, you know, it might seem like a very small thing, but your beliefs can make a huge difference in your life. So how does NLP actually change you? So you learn how to change by using the tools. So let me give you an example. Let's say you want to succeed in your business or your career. You know, that's what you want to actually achieve. But let's say you're not currently. So let's say you have a desire, but you actually can't start. Something is stopping you. So the thing that we've got to look at as a model here is we've got to ask the question, what is stopping you from achieving the success? And this is just one example using mindset, resources, and blocks. So we discover that essentially in order to be successful, we just got to go out there and shake a few hands, for example, meet new people. But if his or her parents taught them not to trust strangers, which is a very common thing that parents will teach their kids, don't trust strangers, you know, because they're fearful of them, you know, being misled or being kidnapped or God knows what. So what happens, that becomes a belief system that sits in our neurology. And so it sits unconsciously and we don't have conscious awareness of it anymore. We just find that we can't build rapport with strangers for some reason, and we don't know why. So NLP helps us to really get to the actual core, because in this context, to succeed, they're now knowing that they've got to go out and build rapport with strangers. So basically what happens is we have two opposing programs that work against each other. So they undermine your success and essentially they pull apart, they separate desire from action. So this is just one example how people can find that they're not really getting to ultimately where they actually want to be. So what we do in order to find that out, we asked NLP questions. So in NLP, you learn very specific questions. That's why so many coaches learn NLP, because it teaches you what questions can you ask to shift a person? What questions can you ask to fire off a new neurology? And in other words, there is equally techniques that you learn to fire off two pieces of neurology or two, neural concepts, two programs at the one point, to have them clash and tear apart or break apart and scramble them so that you can't have the problem anymore. And it's a very, very clever set of techniques. So what we also do is determine the key drivers. In other words, the key driver was to get out there and start creating connections to be able to succeed in your business or career. And then perhaps we need to also teach techniques, and there are a myriad of techniques that you'll learn in NLP to build rapport, to communicate better, to be able to create connections with people, and to be able to utilize your language. Like right now, of course, I'm giving you visuals, but also my language is very, very important to help you to get this. And so NLP teaches you how to be very specific in your language to get a very specific result. So equally, we also may have well done an NLP process, and there are many processes that you learn to get rid of phobias, to get rid of fears, to help shift beliefs, to change programs in the past, to change how you think about yourself. There are many, many, many processes. And I think besides all the communication tools in NLP, the transformational tools are the best that I have ever seen in the world. Seriously, I remember as Robert Kiyosaki said, if he was to do just one course in his life, he said that he would do NLP. And of course, he has learned NLP. So when we do that, the problem then disappears, and then we find that we can just move towards what it is that is the strategy in order to gain success. So if you want to master your life, you must first master your mind. Now, the mind, of course, we know is metaphorically, we call it the mind, but of course, we're referring to the brain, the dendrites, the axioms, all the elements that are in our brain that determine success or non-success. So what we've got to do is, in order to achieve the shifts and changes, we can't look at images like this and ask ourselves, how do we get into the problematic points? So the great thing that NLP does, it actually simplifies the complex. So let me give you an example of this. This is just one model of NLP. And this is a model that we typically use to identify where we need to change. So there was a gentleman who wrote a wonderful book called Flow. His name's Michal Csikszentmihalyi. And he wrote this book called Flow. And he said that we get one event and it creates 2 million bits of information, lots of data that goes into our brain. And what our brain does, it deletes, distorts, and generalizes that data so as to basically block out certain pieces of information or generalize other pieces of information, or it basically distorts information to meet our model of the world. So when you know how to change at the level of the thinking, your actual brain, then what you can do is you can expand opportunities by simply doing that. So an event comes in, we get 2 million bits of information. It is actually deleted, distorted, and generalized down from 2 million bits to 7 plus or minus 2 chunks. In other words, 2 million down to about 5 or 9 bits of information. There's a lot of stuff we don't see, we don't know, we don't understand because our brain has programmed limitations. So one of those filters is decisions. So what we have to do, if we're not getting to where we need to go, we need to ask ourselves, what decisions have we made about ourselves or the outcome of that goal? Another is our memories. In other words, quite often, as that example that I showed earlier, that you're told not to trust strangers, but yet to be successful, you've got to go out and meet strangers. So that's a memory. That's a memory that we were told, we believed, and as a result of that, of course, we turned that memory into a belief system, and that belief system now governs us. It tells us how to be in the world. Then we have languaging. If you want to expand your life, you need to learn how to expand your language. So many of the things that you learn in NLP is expansive language. What sort of words create new experiences? Such as one thing that I do a lot of is a lot of my clients as a coach will come to me and say, I want to increase my income. And one thing that I'll often do is I'll often help them to advance and accelerate and to add to their language. For example, if you want to create more wealth in your life and you want to use real estate, you need to know the frames, negative gearing and positive gearing. That's language. But knowing that language gives you an opportunity now to do those things. But if you don't know the language, you can't do those things. So all shifts, opportunities, and change will usually start from imagination and then building a language that supports that dream. The next thing is values. Values sit in a hierarchy. So what are you valuing? What's your number one value that you are moving towards by utilizing that value in your life? Now, if you change values, you can completely change a life. It's a very, very potent tool to create shift. Then there's meta programs. Meta programs is how you do the world. In other words, how you do you. So some people think in big picture, some people think in detail, but big picture people shouldn't be working in detail-orientated jobs. Big picture people should be in more leadership roles. Detail people should be more in functioning and processing type roles. So there's a huge amount you learn about yourself in order to make better decisions. Your attitude filter. Oh my God. Richard Branson said, I employ people for attitude, not skill. I can always teach skill, but it's harder to change attitude. So in NLP, you actually learn how to shift your attitude so that you've got the right attitude for moving forward. So all of those filters, you get an event, you then create an internal representation after that event goes through your senses, and you internally represent that. Then what you do is you create an emotional state, a physical state that turns your physiology. So you're either upright or slouching, or you're moving backwards or moving forwards, and it all comes through these filters. And that, of course, creates behavior. So this happens, by the way, in a nanosecond. So it's difficult to create change if you do not have a model to focus on and be able to utilize that model to know what to change and how to change it. And that's the real power of NLP. So this is a gentleman called Vladimir, and he changed his values. He said, Rick is a genius in the mind space. He helped me to double my income. A wonderful compliment, but that's not the point of this. The point of this is that he was limiting his income based upon his values, how he valued himself and the opportunity that he had in his job. And what I did is I helped him to shuffle and change his values, and he, as a result, doubled his income. So you've got to know where you want to go, and it's up to us as coaches and as NLP trainers to teach you about what's actually stopping you. That's a really big piece. And of course, we did it with Vladimir, and it was a great result. So how we remove issues and transform lives. Now, this might be a very important question. It changes you by shifting, sometimes in a minor way, sometimes your actual thinking. So this was Christina Morrison. Let me explain something about Christina. She was an actress on Baywatch, and she came into our program because she wanted to change herself. Now, as she was changing herself, she started to get this idea that, oh, I could actually become a coach using these tools. She never intended to become a coach when she first came into our program. And the quote that she gave me is, Rick Schnabel, you rock. I don't know whether I rock. I do like rock and roll. She said, since working with you, I've got coaching clients coming out of my ears. The real thing here is that Christina made a new decision that her beliefs and her values and her patterns and her past and her programs wouldn't allow her to do. And so when she decided to become a coach, her next problem was, how do I get clients? And I said, start with your beliefs. Change your beliefs that you can get clients, and then learn how to get them. And in our program, we also teach coaches how to actually get clients. So, but of course, not all of our students enroll because they want to be an accredited coach. Many people, and it's usually kind of like a 50-50, 50% of people come because they just want to change themselves. The other 50% come because they want to actually start a career in coaching, or they're already a coach and they really want to learn the fast accelerated techniques that you learn from NLP. And I promise you, if you're a coach, NLP fast outperforms anything you've ever learned. It really helps you to be an efficient coach. And once you're an efficient coach, word spreads. So other people really just want to have a better life. And this is essentially how we help them to do that. Now, if you don't know where to start, I want to show you our unique and fast and proven formula that we actually use to help people to get what they really want from life. So we've created what we call the ultimate package to design your ideal life. We call it the Transformational Bonanza. So it's 3 programs essentially in one. The most potent of these and the most interactive of these is what we call our Life Coach and NLP Practitioner Certificate. So that's the fundamental program. Then what we do is we bring this together with another program called Marketing Incubator. And that's really about teaching people how to market themselves, how to position themselves so that they get clients. And that's, if you're interested in becoming a coach or you want to create programs online or something like that, and you want to know, how do I actually get my programs to sell, or how do I actually get clients? Then we incorporate another program called Millionaire Master Academy. Essentially, what we put in that program is much of the stuff that I learned from mentors and multimillionaires that showed me tools, techniques, processes, systems, all sorts of things that has literally generated millions for us. But it's more mindset stuff and strategy stuff. So we put these 3 together because we wanted to create a program that was exceptional and could not be compared to any other program out there in the market. But that wasn't really our entire aim. Our entire focus was to help our students in the best possible way to help them to achieve. And that's why we put these together. So basically, this Life Coach and NLP Practitioner Certificate program, basically what we do in that program is what we call our 10-point advantage. So this is what's in that program. We first give our students a manual. So everything that we teach is actually written, so people can refer back to it in manual form. And of course, it's a workbook as well. So people work through as they're going through the course. Then what we also do is we give them audios of the course so that they can listen to audios while they're going jogging or walking or whatever, just so to help to really get that information into their brain. This part is the most important piece. This is 35 live training modules that help people to learn these techniques where we teach it, we demonstrate it, and we get you to do it as well. So, it's a 3-part process. So you learn, you see it demonstrated, and then you actually do it to yourself. So you actually cannot do this program without getting a personal shift in your life because you're working on yourself using the actual tools. And that's a critical piece. So the next thing that we do is we create what we call triads. So all of our students, they get together in pairs of 3, and one becomes a coach, client, and observer, and then they swap. So they get the experience of using the tools to help change each other, help shift each other. Now, even though many of our students, or 50% of our students, come because they want that shift, this is where they will get that shift. But this is where the numbers tend to change. Like at the beginning, 50% of our students come because they just want to change themselves. By the time the course is done and you graduate, we usually have those numbers change. 70% now actually want to go out there and coach. And we show our students how they can make $50,000 just part-time, just 1 hour a day over 5 days, and they can make an extra $50,000 part-time. And I'll show you exactly how to do that. Then, of course, there's the marketing incubator, which if they choose to create products or coach, we show you how to build landing pages, how to sell, how to actually create copy. And there's so much content in that particular program. Then there are 3 certifications that you get. You get an NLP practitioner, you get an Ericksonian hypnotherapist, and you also get a life coach certification. And these are accredited by the Neuro-Linguistic Programming Association of Australia Incorporated. So that's where we get our stamp of approval, our accreditation, and that means you can professionally, if you want to, be able to go out and coach with a professional accreditation. These are also good things to put on your CV as well. Then the next piece is that all of the training, all of the live training is recorded. It sits on what we call a fast track page. So that means if you miss one module, you can always go back to the fast track page and watch it. And then practice it in your triads. Equally so, once you finish the course, we give you lifetime access to that fast track page so you can keep going back and review any part of it. And in there, we also allow you to download templates and tools and all sorts of things that are useful for your own personal life or your business. The 10th piece, it's the Millionaire Master Academy program to help you to start thinking perhaps bigger, to help you thinking more in a structured, more strategic, and more millionaire type way. And there is a completely different way of thinking as a millionaire than there is, as a not millionaire. So what's inside this program is essentially foundational to advanced life coaching and NLP skills training. You also will learn how to remove negative emotions from influencing you. You will be able to change your negative and traumatic past for good. And just a quick thing about that, the brain is just like a computer. When you go back and you remember something in your past and it's negative, what typically happens is you feel negative as a result. But if you go back to your past, you actually get what's called learning from it. That is, you learn from it. It turns a negative into a positive, a 1 into a 0, or a 0 into 1, a yes instead of a no, or a no instead of a yes. So, and in the course, we explain very specifically how you actually do that. Now, you also learn to manage and master your emotions, because there's always going to be things that you're going to want to do. And one of the key pieces of doing is how you feel inside when you do. For example, imagine if I did this webinar going, hey guys, I want to do this, and I'm all anxious. Well, that's going to determine how I speak. So your state, your emotional state, is the key piece to success. You need to be able to learn how to manage and master your emotional state. And a lot of that has got to do with the feelings that you generate in your thinking. And also another key piece is learn how to change your limiting beliefs, because we all have them. We all have limiting beliefs that really stop us in our lives. And you're also going to learn some very specific mindset hacks that increase your income. Your income, if you haven't worked this out already, your income is absolutely connected to how you think about yourself. Not only that, how you feel about yourself, which might be called self-esteem. And also, you're going to learn how to identify your limits and actually blast through them, and discover the power of hypnosis to change neural pathways. So hypnosis at the end of the day is just meditation. Hypnosis at the end of the day is just visualization. But it's learning how to create those pictures and images, how to create the languaging as to how you speak of those. And that's going to determine your net result. It actually will determine your net worth too. So this is Vitaly. Vitaly is a lovely man. He came into our program, and this is what he said. He said, my mind was being blown away every hour of the course. Truly amazing. The thing that he isn't sharing here that I'd like to share is I said to him in the training, I said, what's one thing that you would really like to get as a result of doing this program? And he said, you know what? And he's okay for me to share this, by the way. He said, you know what? I've never had a girlfriend. A week, I kid you not, a week after finishing the program, he found a lady. They got together. They went dating for a while. He is now married with children. I think, sorry, one child. It might be two. It was quite some time ago that he did the course. But I thought it was a beautiful, beautiful story. And so for the coaches, what you get in the program is you learn how to easily attract clients as a coach or a change maker. You learn how to set up your coaching systems and administration. You also discover how to scale up your business and how to create landing pages, websites, and all those fundamental things that you typically need as a coach. And you become an influencer for good in the world. So you'll learn tools how to actually do that and learn the commercial coaching systems that the professionals use. And there's so much more as a coach. So this is Michael, and Michael said that Life Beyond Limits Life Coach and NLP program is the best we've seen in getting people into the right mindset to achieve amazing results. So Michael witnessed personally, and various people that have come through our program, and he saw the big shift that they had. And he's certainly a master of results himself. So essentially, there's so much in this particular course. I'm just going through right now lots of the Zoom sessions. We do them all on Zoom. And so that means you can do them from anywhere in the world. And there is so much content in here. So there's essentially 35 modules that teach you everything from how your brain works to actual strategies for success. And there's a whole host of things in there. And this is accredited, again, by the NLPAA. So the value, I mean, we put a very small value on each of these modules at $113. And then there's 35 of them, which works out to $3,960. That's what we used to charge for this actual program. But what we've added is we've added full support, because we recognize that people also through the program want to get some level of support. So we've added 6 30-minute Zoom sessions, which help you to get, where you want to be. So that's kind of mentoring and coaching to some degree. And then there's 12 months of email, and we put a value of this at around $2,500 that actually comes with the program. So here essentially is what you get. You get the 35 trainings on Zoom, the Zoom sessions, and the 12 months of email. And I'll add that the Zoom sessions are actually with me, and I've been coaching for a long, long time. So that's the full value of the program. Now, this is one of our students, Mandy is her name, and she said, Rick is an excellent trainer full of inspiration, expertise, and always delivers beyond the promises he makes. This course helped me to grow into a successful full-time coach and trainer. And she's very successful, particularly in the speaking space. And the bonuses that we want to give you, if you're now thinking this sounds amazing, it is, and you've already made up your mind that you want to join us in this actual program, here are the extra bonuses that we're going to give you. Imagine having the best marketing minds at your fingertips. So hence, we're giving you our marketing incubator that becomes part of the Transformational Bonanza. So again, this program really helps you to market yourself, and it's valued at $4,997. This program, Install a Millionaire Mindset, is also in the bonus. So you also get this program with the life coaching and NLP practitioner program, again, valued at $4,997. Plus, you get to review the training anytime you like for life. And that's the fast track page. So here's what you get. you get the 35 training modules, you get the Zoom sessions, the support, you get the unlimited email to answer any of your questions. You get the marketing incubator, the Millionaire Master Academy. So that's the total value. And I really want to blow you away today, because that's $16,000 of value. And we've put this huge program together. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make your day, and I'm going to drop it down to a ridiculous price. So this is what we want to do. We want your success story. We want you to come through this program and find your level of success by the end of it. And I'm going to make this so attractive that you'd be crazy not to say yes to this program, because after this weekend, it's going to revert back to full price without the bonuses. So that's the full value. And so we're doing this whole program for under $3,000. So you get the entire program for under $3,000, because we want to help leaders make a difference. In other words, what you can also do is you can get this program for just $277 per month over 12 monthly payments. So we want to make this really easy to get your $13,000 off this particular program. So basically, we also have a 30-day, no questions asked, success or your money back guarantee. In other words, we're literally taking all of the risk. And should you decide to take this up, you keep the bonuses. However, I will say, we have never had anyone who took this 30-day guarantee, even though it's there. The reason is, once they come into the program and they get the value from the program, which it starts from module 1, they never give this program back. So here is essentially how you do it. You basically go to lifebeyondlimits.com.au transform. You'll come to a page which has got a whole host of information about the program. And the end result is that you either click there if you want to pay the $277 per month, or you click there if you want to get the full discount at $277.5. Now, this ends midnight Sunday, this coming weekend. So we're giving you some time to look at this, read all about it, but please be decisive. Because one thing that I've certainly learned in the context of success and wealth, successful people make decisions quickly and change them slowly. Unsuccessful people make decisions slowly and change them quickly. So if this resonates with you, if you really want to create a life beyond limits, and you know that you've had blocks or limitations in the past that stopped you, I really encourage you to jump into the program. You know, this is something that we do not do with regularity. So this program is starting very, very soon. So once you click, you'll come to this particular page. If you want to go to the 2775, you just click on the buy it now. And if for whatever reason, some people get click happy and they just click, 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 so they end up with 3 or 4 products, just go to the search bar, just put in the word cart, go back to your cart and change it back to 1 item, or cancel it and start again. So that's all you have to do. So basically, the program, the live component of the program, actually starts next week on Thursday, the 24th of March. And the trainings just go from 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. So it's just 2.5 hours, once a week for 35 weeks. So we designed this in a way that even the busiest people can actually do this. And all live training is recorded if you ever miss a module. And we do get some students that miss modules from time to time. So you also get those 2 programs. And this ends midnight Sunday. And that is the link. So lifebeyondlimits.com.au transform. And so what I'm going to do is I will just copy that. So you'll have the link. I'm going to pop that in the chat. And so everyone can actually access that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop share, and I'm going to answer any questions that you have about the program or anything at all. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop it in the chat, and then I'll answer those questions for you. So do we have any questions at all about the actual program? So feel free to pop them in the chat. Now, while you're thinking about any questions at all, and by the way, hi, Tom, you're in Bonnie Doon at the moment, feeling the serenity. Fantastic. Awesome. And we've got also someone from Boston, USA. Cool. Lovely. That's one place in America I haven't been as yet. And given the state of the world at the moment, chances are we won't get to travel all that much in the near future. But it'd be nice if we got back to being able to do a lot more travel. One thing that I've found over the years is in this particular program, the great thing that I've discovered about the ease of it is we can now have students from all over the world. They all jump on, on the one night a week, and we get to meet people from all over the world, which is absolutely wonderful. And I know that COVID and all of this has been a bit of a crazy time, but if you look at the positive, what it's actually done is it's done things like this. Like we used to do this training in a room, and we used to do it over 8 days, this level course. And, a lot of our students, of course, got a huge amount of value from it. But one thing that we found was it's a lot of really good content, but condensed over 8 days. And we've found by doing it over 35 weeks, just, 2.5 hours each week, our students get to practice, over the week, what they have actually learned and apply those things in their lives. And of course, when they come back, we've got a Q&A session so we can answer any questions, and we can tweak and help and refine, the strategies that our students are using. And we will never go back to doing in-room live training because Zoom has become a game changer. It's made it so much easier. And, what we can actually do with our students, whenever we get a document or something that we want to share, we just pop it in the chat and we add the documents and stuff like that. So it's made a huge, huge difference. So the last thing that I want to say is, the thing that, someone said, already registered, enjoying Master Millionaire, really making you think about everything. Cool, fantastic, that's awesome. And Harry, welcome to you. I haven't seen you in quite some time. I hope you're doing really, really well. I hope that you decide to join our program. Let me help you personally to totally create the life that you've always wanted for yourself. Let me show you what are your blocks. Let me show you how to get rid of them. And let me show you how to create a life beyond limits. My name is Rick Schnabel. Thank you for sharing this time with me. And I look forward to seeing you really, really soon. So bye for now.